Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, November 4th. It is Election Day 2025. Um, Always an exciting day, right? Uh, you have ideas of what you think the outcomes will be, and then every now and then you get surprised. But let's hold off for that for a couple seconds. I'll get to that as I conclude today. But I want to start with here in the news this morning of the passing of former Vice President Richard Dick Chaney, um, an interesting, forceful character as Vice President under George W. Bush. It's actually, I read a book, interesting how he really became the Vice President because he was the one leading the vice presidential search and, determined that he was the best person for the job. And, I think a lot of people thought that he was the one who was running the George W. Bush years, but I think later we heard that they were a very good team, and he had a lot of different incidents. I guess there was a shooting during his vice president years, and he's been controversial since. But again, whenever there's a passing of a public official and somebody who served this country, I think we all owe them the dignity and respect of that office that he held as vice president and extend condolences to America for the passing of somebody who was a leader in this country. And I think one of the things we kind of gotten away from over the years doesn't matter if you support them, if you voted for them, if you approve, disapprove, they put themselves in the line of duty to serve this country. And I think for that, you deserve respect and great dignity. So condolences out to the family of Dick Chaney. Never met him, don't know him, and probably won't get to know him now. Well, sometime in the future, hopefully a long way off. Uh, Second, I want to talk about, I had this great opportunity on Saturday, and I think people kind of lose sight of the fact, we talk a lot in Tom's River about the growing Orthodox Jewish community here. And, sometimes we say it in a good tone, sometimes we say it in a concerning tone. We talk about the fact that demographics changing in Tom's River, but it's actually interesting that, the demographics of Tom's River, um, 75 years ago had a very large Jewish population. And I say 75 years ago because I had the pleasure on Saturday of participating Shabbat morning in a service at Congregation B'nai Israel, my synagogue, that honored the 75 years of service of Congregation B'nai Israel to our community here in Toms River. 75 years. Do the math, that's 1950. Toms River Congregation B'nai Israel was founded. It came out of the Toms River Jewish Farmers Community, I think it was called, or maybe it was the Ocean County Farmers Community. I don't have it up in front of me right now, but this was a congregation that came, many of its congregants had escaped Nazi Germany, had escaped the pogroms that had occurred in Europe. And, they came here. And, one of the things I learned, Henry Sherry, one of our congregants, told this story, that really a lot of people were placed on farms because if you could farm, you could survive. Okay. You had food, and you had the ability to sell the goods that you made, that you produced on your farm, whether you're an egg farmer, whether you're a poultry farmer, whether you're a vegetable farmer. And you think about that, it makes a lot of sense. If you put somebody in an office and make them an accountant, you got to hope that they can do accounting and there's enough people who come to them. Everybody needs food. So it was an interesting story to listen to and how people who were not farmers became farmers. And aside from that, we also had a lot of professionals who really were the thrust behind the beginning of the Congregation B'nai Israel. And these are probably names that you hear almost every day or every week in Toms River. These are the founders of the Toms River Congregation B'nai Israel. And again, we're talking about 75 years ago. Now, many of them have passed on, their families have moved. And like Novins, predominant lawyer here in Toms River, was one of the founders and one of the reasons we have that property on Old Freehold Road. Schwartz, so Cy Schwartz. Actually, if you go into Toms River Town Hall, there is a Cy Schwartz conference room. Cy Schwartz not only was the president of Congregation B'nai Israel, I believe the first president. Uh, no, I think Soloff was the first president. Soloff. Um, he became the president of United Synagogue of Conservative Judaism. That's the international organization. Uh, you could know him from Charney's, the Charney's building downtown, the Charney's office supply, the Charney's, um, I think it was a clothing store at one time also. So these are names, and his son, Norton Schwartz, a graduate of Toms River High School before it became Toms River High School South, uh, became the highest ranking uh, individual at one time in the U.S. Navy, I believe is where he was, and say highest ranking Jewish individual. He was chief of staff of the Navy. I remember I read his book. Um, Lives in Maryland. I've had the opportunity on occasion to talk to him and meet with him. And so here's some of the names. The Rosen family. Irving Rosen was, I believe, one of the original founders and presidents. And through the years, Irving, Zev, David, and now Ethan, a good friend of Electric, that everybody knows about. The Grunin family. Now, the Grunins have been around for a long time. They stayed in Toms River to do business operations, and now they're Grunin Foundation. And the Grunins were here a very long time, and Mrs. Grunin's parents were very predominant in the town. I think they had a shoe store on Main Street. The Gelzers and the Smith family. So Milton Gelzer married um, oh my God, I just forgot her first name, but Mrs. Gelzer. I apologize. They passed away a couple of years ago. We're very good friends, and he was attorney, he was a judge, but around a long time in the Smith family farm off of what is Lakehurst Road. The Foxmans were right across the street on Lakehurst Road. They were also a farmer, and the Foxmans have been around a long time. The Estimons, if you know Ida Estimon, she started Toms River Nursery School. Mark and Penny Estimon own Calgo Gardens out in Howell. They had a huge farm here in Toms River, and were some of the names. The Epstein's farm is where the Toms River Veterans Park is on North Bay Avenue now, and the Wallachs, still the Wallach Farmer Market on Route 9. And so these are names that people hear, and these are people, they were around 75 years ago, 80, 90, 100 years ago here in Toms River, and they were the founders. And so, this was a high populated Jewish community, and helped grow and make Toms River what it is today. So I think it's interesting sometimes that people look at the fact that the Orthodox Jewish community is growing and forget the fact that, Toms River had a very large Jewish population back in the early 1900s that really was the establishment in some of those big time names. And I had a great opportunity of spending 10 years as president of Congregation B'nai Israel and spending a lot of time with some of these people and their families. And I do wish the congregation many, many more years. And it was also interesting for me, which I didn't know, there was an expansion in the 80s of Congregation B'nai Israel. Well, first of all, when they built the building back in 1959, they took a mortgage out from the Toms River National Bank, and they paid that mortgage off in 1 year. And you're like, oh my God, in the 1950s, they paid a mortgage off in 1 year. Well, the Garden State Parkway came through and took a lot of the land and gave them the money, and they took the money and paid their mortgage off. So I thought that was really an interesting story I had not known yet. but very proud to be a leader in that congregation. I hope to be around for many, many, many more years. Let's talk about elections now. So today is Election Day, 2025. I don't care who you vote for. Well, I do, but go vote. 72,000 registered voters in Toms River today. And I think we'll be lucky if we get 40%. That's a shame. You have a right to vote. And I remember, and I do remember this. So my first time voting was in 1985. My birthday's in June, so I voted in November because it's June 30th. It actually is the year that Tom Kaine won re-election by the largest margin still in a election. And, he was the favorite, New Jersey and me, perfect together, whatever the saying was in his nice Massachusetts accent. But I had the opportunity, and I remember walking up. In those days, you'd walk up to vote, and since it was my first time voting, they said, "Are you declaring as a Democrat, a Republican, or independent?" Because it was the a general election. And I turned to my mom and I said, "What are you, Mom?" And she said, "I'm a Democrat." And so I immediately said, "I'm a Republican," because you never could do what your mother does. You got to do the opposite. So I have been a Republican declared since 1985. I have never changed. And, but as I say all the time, I don't always vote party lines because I vote for the people who I believe are the best for our community, for our town, for our state, for our federal government at that moment in time. And today, I believe that Jack Ciattarelli is the best for the state of New Jersey. I believe we need some change here. We need some new vision. And, I say this to a couple people. I've met Mikey Sherrill on a couple of occasions now. I really wish that she wowed me a little more. And I don't hear what the plans are. And that scares me. I think Ciattarelli has been very transparent on what his plans are. And again, you get elected, you get sworn in, and you can throw everything out the window. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. We've seen that here in Tom's River. But I think we need to see some change. I'm a huge, huge, huge person who believes that the school funding formula that is a secret and how money goes from the state budget to local budgets to run their school system is flawed and needs to be blown up and started all over again. I think Ciattarelli has a plan for that. I also think Kathy Egan for Board of Education in Tom's River is the person who will help continue to fight here in Tom's River. The two other people, no chance in hell. Kathy Egan has to be our Board of Education person. And when it comes to local ward elections, Robert Bianchini in Ward 1, Clinton Bradley in Ward 2, James Quinlisk as the long shot write-in, and it's a pipe dream. It is a long shot. But it's easy to do when you go into the voters booth. As you can see, I voted already this morning. You go in there, you can type his name in, and you hit it. It's easy peasy to do. You got to spell it right, though. Quinlisk. Quinlisk. Because the only person on the ballot is a Daniel Rodrick puppet. And we do not need a Daniel Rodrick puppet. Ward 4 is David Ciccozzi. He's the incumbent. He's Councilman Ciccozzi, just like Councilman Quinlisk. And the key to this is twofold. One, Tom's River Council needs a majority against Daniel Rodrick because we need to start the change and stop the chaos here in Tom's River. And the only way to do that is if there's a majority on council. And a supermajority on council would be to get the write-in for James Quinlisk, Quinlisk, because if there's 5 votes, they can overturn the mayor's veto. And that is why Daniel Rodrick has worked behind the scenes, mysterious letters going out in all the wards that are from voters who pay attention or residents who pay attention. It's a fake political action committee. It doesn't exist in the state. Complaints have been filed. The outcome will be heard well after the election, but it is Daniel Rodrick's modus operandi, his MO. If you look at it, it is exactly what he's always done. If you look at the flyers for the Democrats, they are Daniel Rodrick flyers from the past. I brought him up last time. I can show you the old pictures. He just changes the faces, keeps the topics the same. Do not fall for his tricks here in Tom's River. Today starts the recall of Daniel Rodrick. We are doing that to collect signatures, to get a ballot next year, a special election, because we cannot wait 2 more years. But it starts today because Tom's River majority against the Rodrick chaos gets elected today. That is Bianchini in Ward 1, Bradley in Ward 2, Quinlisk, Quinlisk in Ward 3, and Ciccozzi in Ward 4. Okay. 2 years from today, we will elect a new mayor. No matter what happens with the recall, because the recall, we get 18,464 signatures. We have a special election. We recall Daniel Rodrick. We replace him with XYZ mayor. That is only a stopgap until the next election. So no matter what, there is a general election for the mayor in 2027, but it has to start today. We need to stop the chaos. And it is rampant in Toms River, whether it's tearing down buildings with public works employees who are not protected from the asbestos on the building. And I know everybody has keyed on the fact that it was improperly done and there's construction debris and it was taken to a landfill and it was transported and it's on the property and they're doing remediation. But those men, and they were men who did the demo and put the dust in the air and the friable asbestos, did not have proper protection, no respirators. And they're my biggest concern. And they should be yours too, because we shouldn't be doing things to hurt the residents and employees of Toms River. But that's all Daniel Rodrick does, whether he fires them, whether he demands that they go out and do things they shouldn't be doing. Daniel Rodrick is reckless. He is chaos. And the recall starts today. We elect Robert Bianchini, Clinton Bradley, Jim Quinlisk, David Ciccozzi. And you want to say, well, Phil, we're picking all the Republicans, okay? Daniel Rodrick has put his money behind the Democrats. I'm sorry. And he will demand that they owe him something. Tom Nivison was strong enough to pull away and realize that he had been played. I don't see that with the three current Democratic candidates, and I do not know them very well. I've had pleasant conversations with Susan Gatto in Ward 2, a very lovely woman. I do not know Justin Moran in Ward 3, but clearly looking at his elect reports and looking at the propaganda that's come out, Mitt Seam, Jonathan Solanas, and Dan Roderick are his campaign managers. You can see it. Bad news in Ward 4, you got to vote David Ciccozzi. Okay. In Ward 1, Colucci, silent when the flyers came out in the letters. Hasn't said a thing about it. Just took it and said, you know what? If I'm going to get some votes, I'll get some votes. I don't like that. You should stand up for what you believe in. And he didn't stand up. Whatever you do, get off your ass and go vote. We are Americans. We have that right. We have that privilege. Go vote today, and let's make sure that we start change here in Toms River and here in New Jersey. I'm Phil Brilliant. This is Simply Brilliant. Have a fantastic day.